Say, Duane, you think if we took those Malacca trees out of Florida and planted them in Washington, D.C., it would help drain the swamp?
You think it would? You're going to do that, Bob?
Yeah, I guess so. Can you imagine it, Bob?
Is that before or after you and Sandy take over the corporation?
Oh, boy. There'll be a few changes made.
I have a good question for you, and this stemmed from reading book
7, wasn't it?
7, yeah. In book 7, you really hit home on a point for me, and you were talking about goodness, and you said that goodness is one of those things that has been perpetrated by the rep systems, and basically goodness is tantamount to obedience. And we've been tap-lined and brainwashed to be good. You know, we don't dare cross the line because, you know, if we cross the line, well, then we're going to be in bed with the devil and all that kind of stuff. They're going to come and get us and all that. So we've been tap-lined into obedience of being good, so we don't go against the party line of what the rep systems want us to do. So my question is, how does goodness, which is a tap-lining process of the rep systems, how does goodness compare to purity on the real side? What is the difference between goodness and pureness of heart that the rep systems want us to do, and honesty that the rep systems want us to do, and purity on the real side in the real world? So could you explain that?
Okay. Yeah, the idea here is that, you know, good is good and this is that and bad is bad or whatever. We still use these definitions, you know, accordingly. I don't really use them, but the world looks at this. Oh, you're a good person. And I see that too. There are good people here. But for the most part, you look at how society's been created. It's we're in Agenda 21, whatever you want to call it. In other words, the obedient society. And so those people that obey everything, those people that stop at the red lights, and even if it's 2 a.m. in the morning and everybody's asleep but you still stop at the red light because you're a good person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I don't even stop at the red lights during the day when the traffic's on. So the thing being is that it's not about the good that we know. Okay, it's about the idea that they've taken this, just like, you know, Joni took over the corporation. You know, she uses all the same ideas, but, you know, it's her intent, it's her agenda that's not seen and that has changed. But the idea is there. So the good idea is still there, but it's not the same. So again, it's, you know, like those that I've lived with, from my girlfriends to from my wife to my daughter or whatever. It's like, you know, why don't you just, you know, be a good person, work, and, you know, why can't you be normal and work and do what you've always done, pay your bills and whatever, and etc. And if I did that, then this wouldn't exist, you see. So again, it's not an entire generalization about good. That's not the idea. But for the most part, or some of it, or what have you, the elites see this. This is why they do all this psychological testing and stuff like that. And you see it in the books and whatever, and they let people know because they want them to agree. And that is that they want you to be a good citizen. They want you to be a good American. Well, what is a good American? Well, you know, just work, contribute, you know, go out and buy things. You're the consumer and pay your taxes and salute the flag and, obey the laws that have been made. And I'm not saying otherwise, but, if you want to just stay in that category, yeah, that's fine. It's a choice. You can do it. And you're the good person. You can think of yourself as the good person, just like much of the membership. They're good people. And Christians think of themselves as we're good people. But at the same time, they're worshiping the Kalam God. And they're unconsciously, even consciously, but they don't see that, agreeing to the demise of themselves and the planet. So much for the good person. So then you have purity, which is the isness life is, okay? And so I don't have to explain a lot of that. I have so many times, but it's very simple. What is purity? Like the sun shining. And so there's your comparison. What do you want to be? Now, I'm not saying that all of a sudden you just go out and do whatever you want and interfere. But you know when you're doing that. You know when you're interfering. You know when you're this or that. And so, you figure it out, but with a bigger view than just conformity. So again, the Agenda 21 idea is, and they call it Agenda 30 or whatever, it doesn't matter, is that, we're going to build good housing and everybody's going to be able to, have all their conveniences. And, of course, you're going to be spied upon and everything's going to be recorded. And we're going to, every breath you take, etc. But, it's all for your own good. So you become the good person, even gooder than before. You really want to be good now because you really want to comply. But it keeps you one-dimensional, doesn't it? To where, when you start to use that imagination, that there's more, and maybe you want to travel into outer space and, fly like the birds and, pay attention to your dreams and all of a sudden discover more. Well, there is more. So all of a sudden you see, it's that old saying that was in the Bible. I don't know if Jesus said it or not. The meek shall inherit the earth. Well, again, it's self-explanatory. Those people that do not have the courage to see more than just obedience, they're going to just have the earth, and it's going to be whatever it is. It's just that simple. And so, so there's the difference. And you decide what purity is. Well, purity is without anything, without restrictions or interference or anything, like the sun shining. But then you take it a step further to recognize this all aliveness that it is. It's alive. It's just not the demonstration of the sun shining, you see. So now you decide to compare the two, and you decide what your life is going to be. So what we're doing here with the trees and everything else we're doing is we're creating an adventure as a demonstration that relates to the true reality life is. We're not just being good people and going out and planting trees. That's not going to do it. And so, we can relate to the environment and the wildlife. Yeah, that's part of it. But as we bring in our real awareness to all of this, well, it becomes more real, self-sufficient, and beneficial as opposed to just contained and to where you have to maintain it and it has to be under some type of control, you see. So right now, because of how screwed up the environment is, we have to rearrange things and try and figure it out again, how it is, how it naturally gets along. And it's really an experiment because, again, these plants, these trees, whatever, they're individuals too. And we can plant them in the ground and they can be, in their natural setting, but all of a sudden the water tables are different. The land's got nanotechnology all over the place. This is why when I was up to Arrowhead many years ago and all the mountains here and where Ava is and whatever, the trees are all infected with beetles because their immune systems have been destroyed by the nanotechnology. And things are so messed up now. So now we need some type of technology to help us out, just like we have the John Ellis water machine to help us out fix our water. I mean, and we think, oh, this is so cool. Is it? 200-300 years ago, you didn't need the John Ellis machine. The water was fine. We didn't have chemtrails and all this stuff. So, yes, it is a heck of a challenge here just to do something and connect. So this is where, as Val, just researched and discovered this. It's so cool because I'm focused on certain things here galactically and everything else and the whole of creation, looking at the bigger view, trying to bring it into the earth here and make it work, but I need agreement too. And so fortunately Val and Kelsey and the others and Henry and Vesna and are doing their part in research, and you kids too, because again, we're all in this together, and it's very, very important. And again, this is where I'm talking about getting out of your routines and really focusing on something real, because that becomes the bigger picture. Otherwise, because we have got a lot of competition here. It's a horse race, and that is the elites aren't stopping. They are not stopping 24 hours a day. They're worse than termites that eat your house. And even though we don't see it, I don't pretend it isn't there. And so you sound like a reactionist. I sound like a reactionist. And, people just want to rest from it. I understand. It's like, I don't want to talk about the chemtrails today. I get that. So let's not talk about the chemtrails. Let's talk about this project here. I'm going to call it Greenbelt Worldwide instead of just specifying Mexico, but we start there, all natural planting for new trees. And I'm writing up the business plan, which will only be about a page because, how much stuff can you say about these things? But we can bring in other stories, getting the basic idea here. And we have the water, too, and looking at a place south of Ensenada where a lot of the farmers are. And at the same time, they're having a water problem down there, too, with underground water. So they have trucks that are desalinizing the water, etc. So, and we can build a bigger system like the John Ellis and experiment with that. So, all in all, have a big challenge here. But getting back to your question of what is what. So we're on the earth here, and there is the purity aspect. Yes. And that really is with your intent. The goodness part is more so with the 5 bodies. Okay, getting the 5 bodies in line accordingly. But that's the part you got to figure out with your intent, the purity. Life is pure. This is a reference we use to this reality, but it's even more than that because it's the seeing and the being of it. But we use that reference. I see that as the best reference. I like pure sincerity because I see that sincerity, these two really occupy each other. And the sincerity part is to where it's always on. It never goes off, like the sun shining. I see that as a pure sincerity because it never stops. And so when people say they are sincere, they can be for the moment. But then again, then they go back to their personal life somewhere, and it's like, oh, well, I don't feel like that now, you see? And so it's recognizing your intent also. So what I'm describing here is more so than just the so-called normal good person. But you decide, and this is where, it takes a lot of courage to step up, figure this out, and just even figuring out the trees and the environment itself. And so this is where, as we get involved with these people, we let them know what we're doing, and we kind of have to stand back as we present it a little bit and see if they will step up to us and want to learn more, or will they just keep doing what they're doing. So eventually the planting of the trees idea for the earth, it can work for a while, but it's not going to keep going. That's a given, because at some point, as long as the elites are around, they're going to whack it. They're going to destroy it because they have their own agenda. So we can only do what we do, but the bigger picture is presenting the is. So you've got the two comparisons there. You got the good person and what they're doing on the earth, many good people, and we're like the good people. We're like that, but we're a step up from the so-called good people that are obedient to every rule and regulation, every idea that comes here and there, whatever the president said, or, etc. And just like Val going to the college, if he just went off of what they said, would it work? I don't know. But just by doing what we're doing, it didn't work. It didn't work there. Now we have a new position. Val has a new position. We're seeing if that's going to work. But this is the world. So in a way, we are the good people. We're more so than that. But we want to be more so than that. We want to be more than just good people. We want to be aware and real with the whole of life, not just here planting trees. So again, you start to see the variables. And again, learning about your five bodies, your intuition, your imagination, all of it implies it's the bigger picture, bringing it through. So I'm working on something that just brings it all here, okay? But you have to see it. It's not going to be just given to people. It's not like that. We can only do certain things. We can cook dinners for people. We can share that. They can come here and sleep on the couch, whatever. But when it comes to your real awareness, we can present what is possible, but that part is up to the individual. So yes, we're like the good people more so. But yeah, we want to do a whole lot more. But this is a step. This is like us introducing ourselves to them and saying, "Hey, we're here. We want to do the same thing. We want the earth to be okay." Because again, it's kind of like a schoolhouse. It's like, oh, let's all go fix it up and nail down the floor and paint the inside and outside, so that we can come here every day and we can attend school and learn something. And so that's what creation is. So because again, it's not, we don't want to just keep having to maintain the environment here as it's attacking us because we've screwed it up. So in a way, we're like the good people, and that purity aspect, we have to discover that for ourselves. But that's all about your intent, which is even more so than your imagination, way more so, because it connects with the true reality life is, and recognizing that. So a lot to do, right, young man?
Well, you know, this you are, by writing about the goodness, you reminded me that in the corporation, at some point in time, they were teaching that every plane has its own laws, and if you want to get along in the corporation, you better follow the rules of each plane and country that you live in. Just so you have to be obedient, or you're not going to succeed in the corporation. And I thought that's got to be taplining, you know.
Well, again, it's, you look at how things are phrased. I don't phrase things like that. I don't talk about the laws. Paul talked about these things because, again, it was the first step. It was boot camp. It was the babysitting boot camp. And so, again, the sergeant's yelling, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to listen. Okay, but at a certain point, no, we don't do that anymore. I don't talk about the law of karma, the law of nature, I don't do that law thing because, again, these are people that, accordingly, they become the authorities, they become the know-it-alls, they have become the rule lovers. In other words, when somebody has written something, and they'll always quote somebody else, they'll always quote somebody. Very seldom will they stand up for themselves and really say something, but they'll always quote somebody else as their backup. Well, he said this and he said that, so here's the law, you see? Here's the law. And what is Joni doing? Well, Joni's very creative. She does whatever she wants. She took over the corporation. She got rid of the board of directors. Hey, is she obeying these things just like the president and the Congress and whatever? Are they obeying the laws that they write? No. No, she's created deception, doing taplining and whatever, but she's telling everybody else to be good on all the various levels, etc. It's kind of funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or it's not.
Well, back in the late '70s, I was living down in Champaign, Illinois, and they had this politician he was running for office, or actually he was trying to get reelected, and his platform was, well, you need to elect me because I've got more laws passed than anybody else running in this office. And right then and there, I knew we were in trouble. It hit me like a ton of bricks that, hey, we don't need more laws. We just need more goodness, or, we need to stop the nasty stuff and forget making new laws on every time you turn around. But that was his platform. He says, I pass more laws than anybody else. Get them run through and pass. So I thought, man alive, are we in trouble now?
Well, I'm
Yeah,
sure
we
that
can
all the
qualify.
good people agreed. Yeah.
We can qualify what they call laws to regulations.
Exactly. Yep.
Mhm.